Who's the number one pick in fantasy this year?
It's Christian McCaffrey.
Ooh.
I think we're pretty sure of that this year. Feeling comfortable with him at number one. I mean, limited season last year, but he's like two players in one. So I don't think you're going to regret going him number one.
We had some questions here in the studio. Perhaps Dalvin Cook in the mix, maybe Derrick Henry. Are there any ideas that make sense to go off of Christian McCaffrey at number one?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, Dalvin Cook has been so darn reliable, and he represents that same type of value and multi-threat that Christian McCaffrey does. So if you want to head that direction, it makes sense. Henry's tough because I mean you go up over 2,000 yards, but he's getting older and he does not contribute in the passing game the way that McCaffrey and Cook does, and that's just like cheat code for fantasy football.
Andy Holloway joining the show, host of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Ben Lyons in for Rich on the Rich Eisen Show. This time of year when you're watching preseason as a fantasy footballer, are you taking anything from these games that you can apply to the season? What are you looking for in the preseason as a fan?
Yeah, that's a good question because the more media coverage we get of all this stuff, the more insane levels of hype and coach speak and extrapolation of what you see on 3 plays happens, and then Twitter gets a buzz. And I even saw, I think, training camp stats, like stat lines from Jimmy Garoppolo versus Trey Lance this past week. So something to tweet about, I guess. I think the best thing to do is just try to not overemphasize one play or another play. But, last night's game, one of the things that was interesting to me was like Antonio Gibson. Everybody loves Antonio Gibson in fantasy football, but he didn't take a third down snap with the first team. J.D. McKissick was still out there. So I think you just try to pay a little bit of attention to some of those subtle things where can I get a gauge on what this offense is looking to do, and try not to overreact. If a coach does something bad, that's probably better to pay attention to that than something good because they all say something good about their players in training camp. And try to weed through it a little bit.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.